Obviously, we'd love that to be a long relationship, but right now we're playing the season. All I'll say is we obviously love to have him, and those are discussions will happen at a later point.
Jed, good morning. 17 over, 6.5 games in front. So I want to take you back to opening day 2024. Every year you join me and Hoodie. We're sitting at Bernie's. Hoodie asked you, where's your team yet? You said, we're not the Braves. We're not the Dodgers. We're not the Yankees yet. We're working toward it. Now here on June 18th, 2025, how do you feel about your baseball team?
No, we played really well so far. Obviously, there's a long way to go. We're not even at a halfway point, but we played well. I think that the gratifying thing really has been, the position playing group. We play a lot of clean games. Obviously, the at-bats are really good, but I do feel like, consistently night in, night out, we've been throwing strikes and we've been catching the ball and running the bases hard. And I feel like it's been a fun brand of baseball to watch. Good defense, good base running, and some power is a pretty good combination. And those guys have continued to play hard every night. It's been impressive to watch.
What surprised you most about the season going so far?
Well, I'd probably be lying to say that Pete hasn't been the biggest surprise. Obviously, we expected big things out of him, but to say I thought he'd have 19 homers at this point, I think would be a lie. So I think that's been probably the biggest surprise, just how he's blossomed this year. That's been, and I would say it really, I think the pitching guys have done a great job. Some early bumps in the road until we got the bullpen settled out, and those guys have thrown really well and been consistent. And bullpens are volatile. There's always going to be ups and downs, but I think those guys stabilize that really well. And we've been able to win games by scoring a lot of runs, and we've also been able in this latest stretch to win some games with low scores. And I think that's important to be able to do both.
Yeah, Cap, you and I talk about PCA all the time. I said, in Chicago, he is the guy. As far as Chicago sports athletes are concerned, he is the pinnacle. But as Jed just told us, think about this. We already knew the defense was going to be solid. The stolen base is going to be solid. But the power, man, that is just an added value that we did not think we were going to see this year.
Jed, that ball he hit last night, it got out in such a hurry, 452 feet off the video board. I've watched this kid like you have. I did not see that magnitude coming. Did you?
No. I certainly didn't expect him to be hitting balls the way he is. Homering to center field and hitting no doubter home runs. These haven't been wall scrapers that he's been hitting. He's been hitting them long and far, and it's remarkable. He's such a twitchy athlete. He generates so much bat speed, and to his credit, and with the coach's credit, he's worked really hard on his swing, and he gets the ball in the air to the pull side, which is. He catches the ball out front, and I think he's able to use his bat speed and his power really well. But, that ball last night was really juiced for a guy that's, not a huge, strong guy.
So I want to ask you about pitching. Obviously, this season, this time of year, we see all these ridiculous trade proposals. Give up this guy and give up that guy. You have a guy who – he was a first-round pick in Cade Horton. He's throwing the ball really well. He matched Paul Skeens the other day. Is the plan with him, because he never has had a 150-inning season, how do you manage his innings so you can keep him there all year and know we get to October, if we're fortunate enough to be there, that dude's still rolling?
Yeah, we will have and have had a lot of conversations just about how to manage everyone's innings. It's been a kind of all hands on deck with Steele went down early, and then Shota went down, and Assad's been down all year, and so our starting pitching depth kind of took a bite early on, and our hope is that both through getting healthy and then potentially the trade deadline that we can sort of add some depth to that. But there's no question that conversations about innings are going to have to happen, just making sure that everyone can get a little bit of rest and think through that. And we can't do that right now, but certainly we're aware of, Ben Brown and Cade and, Boyd. I think he made 8 starts last year. So we're going to have to think through those things at different times during the year. And I think that's part of the job. It's it is a marathon. You can't run your team on a dead sprint, for the first 3 or 4 months. If you do that, at some point you're going to run out of gas. So we do have to monitor all those things, both in the bullpen and in the rotation, and frankly, even with position players, trying to make sure that they get days off and that they're still fresh. And then, we gave Pete a day off the other day. So we do have to make sure that we monitor the rest for all these guys.
The president of baseball operations for the Chicago Cubs is Jed Hoyer. He joins us, the Cap and J Hood Morning Show on ESPN 1000 and on YouTube. Marquis mentioned that you were talking the other day about Trey Turner and maybe a slight comparison to PCA. What makes them comparable in your eyes, what Trey Turner brings and what PCA brings?
Well, what I really meant by that was just in terms of, physically. I think when you see Trey Turner up close, he's a kind of a lean guy, super twitchy, super fast. And I mean, Trey Turner can hit balls kind of long and far the way Pete does. He has a lot more power than you think. And that's really what I meant by it is I think when you see Pete and his frame, you don't expect to see a guy hitting balls off the video board or hitting easy home runs. But I think that those kind of athletes are, just fast, whippy. And I think that was sort of my comparison. It wasn't the player. It was more just getting a lot of power from a kind of a lean, fast body.
In terms of looking at a guy like Kyle Tucker, I know he's injured a ring finger. He's gotten some opportunities just to be a DH. He had 3 hits last night. Is he playing at 80% with the hand? Is he playing at 100%? I know they've gotten him off his feet and had Seiya out there some. Where is he health-wise?
He's definitely not at 100%. I think that, he'd be the first person to say that, throughout a baseball season, there's going to be times you're playing with nicks and dings, and he's certainly doing that right now. I think he's grinding through it. Obviously, he hurt that finger on the slide and missed a couple of days, and hopefully we get to a place where it is back to 100%. But certainly, right now he's grinding through it, and I think doing a really good job. He's probably not quite himself, but certainly he makes us a much better team, and he wants to be out there.
Jed, I'm going to just tell you, and Cap, you agree. When we hear from Craig Counsell every day, he is the embodiment of never too high, never too low. It's the same, isn't it? We could play 2 sound bites. You can't tell whether or not the Cubs won or lost. He's very breathy. He's just very even keeled, is he not, Cap?
Yeah, Does that guy's blood pressure ever go up because you're 6.5 up, you just won, and yeah, he's playing really good baseball. Does he ever get fired up? Or is he that dude? He's just quiet.
He does occasionally, but hey, he got ejected twice in consecutive games.
That's true.
So he has the fire there certainly, and the players know he has their back. But he's really even keeled. After a game, I always joke it's hard to tell if we won or lost, and I think that's the way it should be. I think that I think in this job, certainly last night was really fun with the great catch and the home run. And then certainly there's wins that feel a little bit better than others, but ultimately it is as boring as it sounds. It's just about kind of, one at a time and showing up the next day and being prepared and ready to play. And I think he does that exceptionally well. And, there's always bad series or downturns over a 6-month season. And, he's going to be really steady and just do the same preparation, get ready the same way, be the same person. And the players really respond to that. They want to know that they're walking into the same clubhouse every day with the same energy. And he's really almost perfect at that.
In terms of Kyle Tucker and everywhere you go and everywhere you look, whether it's social, articles, are the Cubs going to sign him? No, the Cubs will never sign. I know you don't negotiate through the press, and that's probably a great way to proceed. Is it fair to say the day you acquired him, you, Tom, Carter, whoever is in that room, have a plan of how you approach this? You're just not going to tell us what that plan is.
Well, yeah, we have a really good relationship with his agent, Casey Close. He has Dansby and he has Talion as well. We've done a lot of deals with them, and I know Casey well. Obviously, we have him, open lines of communication. But to me, yes, when you acquire him, you want players like Kyle Tucker in the organization. He's an incredible hitter. He's an incredible player. but right now we're playing the season. I think we've seen what kind of player he is. That's for sure. I think my hope is that as we play out this summer, that you find Chicago pretty appealing as well. It's kind of hard not to, and so all I'll say is we obviously love to have him, and those are discussions will happen at a later point.
Jed Hoyer with us on the Cap and J Hood Morning Show on ESPN 1000, also on our YouTube channel. For some players, Jed, as you well know, the light will turn on, or maybe it turns off and never turns on again. Like with Matt Shaw, I think already his story is interesting. He starts off with the team. You send him down, the adjustment of his swing, where his legs are in the box. And I just think that, we've seen some terrific, dazzling plays from him defensively. So what about the development of Matt Shaw stands out to you right now?
I think for me, the biggest thing has been his defense. I mean, when he went down to AAA and was down there for a while, when he came back up, I feel like just the confidence defensively was really noticeable. I felt like early in the season, he was still kind of learning that position. It felt a little bit tentative with his throwing and with his footwork. And I just feel like now he's made a lot of really good plays. He's a really good defender now. And he's really athletic at third base, and he'll continue to get better and better. But to me, that's what I really noticed, is it felt like he just sort of took a deep breath and let his athleticism show. And that's one of the biggest things. And listen, we talked about Pete. I mean, Pete last year was in the minor leagues, and there was discussions throughout, when we had him up here, like, when are we going to send him down? And, Pete was able to get a lot of at-bats because his defense was so good, and we just kept throwing him out there. But, how quickly we forget that, with Pete, we had to send him out, and we had to do the same with Shaw. And I think that's kind of normal course of action in today's game. And, when we sent out Matt, we talked about that. We sent out Ian, we sent out Schwarber. Obviously we sent Pete out. Like, I don't think it's a negative. I think it's part of the process in a game that's getting increasingly harder to hit. And I'm really impressed with his ability to come back pretty quickly and fit right in.
Let's talk about the deadline. If the right deal is out there, but there's multiple years on that deal left, whoever that player is, we'll call him a number one starter. Are you confident that Tom and the family will go, okay, Jed, you've got us to this point. You've done a magnificent job putting this together. Go spend what you have to spend.
Yeah, that's not a concern for me at all. I think that, the resources will be there. I think that the real question is just going to be how it lines up from a trade standpoint. I think it's likely to be a seller's market. I don't think that we know how it's going to develop yet. I think that, we're still too far away from the deadline. There's too many games to be played, and there's teams that may fall out of it that, we're expecting that we aren't expecting. There may be teams that we think are going to sell that play well and don't sell. So I think it's still too far away to really have a sense of it. But yeah, from a resource standpoint, from a ownership support standpoint, I think that's there, no question.
Cap and I talk every morning about when we look at this depth chart for the Cubs and the injuries that the Cubs have suffered. So, Shota Imanaga and Porter Hodge and others. And so we just want to know what the latest is on Shota, and then what does that look like? You have some big decisions to make as far as how you align the starting rotation when Shota comes back. So what's the latest on him, and what's the future?
Yeah, he's going to pitch in a couple of days for Iowa. And then we'll have discussions. Obviously I haven't seen that outing yet, so we'll see what happens. But certainly he's getting really close. And we will have decisions potentially, but also things happen. So let's wait on that. But yes, in theory there may be decisions to be made, and we're just excited to get Shota back. That not only adds a really good pitcher to our team, but also gives us depth by definition. So. We're excited to watch him this weekend. I guess it's Friday. We'll watch him, and hopefully he pitches well, and we can make some decisions at that point.
So you heard it here first. Go ahead. I was going to say, you heard it here first. 6 or 7 man rotation for the Cubs. That's going to be awesome, Jed. No. How about that?
Yeah, no, but we do need the depth. I mean, I think that we have grinded through without the depth that we thought we had because of injuries, and hopefully we can start getting some guys healthy, and that'll help. And then Porter threw last night. For Iowa, and we'll keep on monitoring him, but it'll be nice to get him back at some point as well. We have to make those decisions, and we'll have to watch his outings, but obviously he was throwing well for us, and he adds another power arm in the bullpen.
How about in terms of your status? This is your final year, and you said to us at opening day, hey, man, I'm going to do what's best for the franchise. I'm not worried about my status. It'll resolve itself. Have you guys, you and Tom, talked at all? You know for sure, yep, I'll be here in 26.
Yeah, no, we haven't. I wouldn't talk about kind of where we are. I think that ultimately, it's totally fair to ask me questions about Kyle Tucker. I get it. That's the job. But as far as questions about myself, I wouldn't ever talk about it. No one comes out to watch me play. So let's just focus on the team. Obviously, listen, I've been here for 14 years. I love Chicago. And really I just kind of focus on, this team now and hopefully making this team better.
What's your message to Cub fans right now?
I think come out to the ballpark. I think it's a really fun team to watch. I think we have speed, we have power. We have really good defense. Our pitching staff throws a lot of strikes, and it's been a really fun brand of baseball. And listen, like I said, there's a long way to go. We have to just continue to prepare the way we have been, and stay healthy. But I do feel like this has been just a really fun brand of baseball to watch. Like that last night's game on both sides was so well played, and we've had a lot of games like that. So yeah, they come out to the ballpark. There's a lot of fun things happening.
I walked into your old office before you got the new office building. This is back in 2016. I'll never forget it. Theo was in his little office around the corner, and I said, you guys are trading for Aroldis Chapman? You're giving up Gleyber Torres and more? And your response to me was, if not now, when? And then Theo used the same line with the media later that day, I believe over a guaranteed rate. He said, if not now, when? Are you at that point with this team if the right deal presented itself? Oh, God, I can get who? If not now, when?
Yeah, I think that, that was what, July, I don't remember the exact day, July 24th or something like that. We made that deal. And so I feel like we have to keep playing well, but, certainly that's how you want to view it is I think that, that team was, I think pretty clearly the best team in baseball. And we had 9 more wins than any team in baseball that year or something like that. And, to me, that's the, that was the moment. It's like we have the best team in baseball. This is a pretty incredible opportunity, and I think you do have to seize opportunities when they're there. But obviously, like right now, it's June 18th, and we have a long way to go, and we need to keep playing good baseball.
As always, Jed, we appreciate your time here on the show. Thanks for coming on.